Yes, of cause, you are welcome to AFRIMEDIA Rwanda. We are here to build a good life, guys. Here's a detailed explanation of why some individuals might feel. Please subscribe, like, share. Fact check. Trump made more than 20 false claims in his Inauguration Day remarks, Washington CNN. President Donald Trump made only a smattering of false claims in his inaugural address on Monday, mostly sticking to vague rhetoric, subjective assertions, and uncheckable promises of action. But then he embarked on a lying spree. In an unscripted second speech on Monday, to supporters who had gathered in the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center's Emancipation Hall, Trump made false claims about elections, immigration, and the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021, among other subjects. He then made additional false claims in a freewheeling third speech at Washington's Capital One Arena, and again while speaking to reporters as he signed executive orders in the Oval Office. Here is a fact check of some of his Monday claims. Economy trumps tariffs on China. In the Oval Office, Trump repeated his false claim that the U.S. has taken in hundreds of billions of dollars from China through the tariffs he imposed during his first presidency. U.S. importers make the tariff payments, not China, and study after study has found that Americans bore the overwhelming majority of the cost of Trump's tariffs on China. It's easy to find specific examples of companies that passed along the cost of the tariffs to U.S. consumers. Previous presidents and tariffs on China. Trump repeated his frequent false claim that no previous president had imposed tariffs on Chinese imports, saying that, "Until I came along, China never paid 10 cents to this country." Aside from the fact that U.S. importers pay the tariffs, the U.S. was actually generating billions per year in revenue from tariffs on Chinese imports before Trump took office. In fact, the U.S. has had tariffs on Chinese imports since 1789. Trump's predecessor, Barack Obama, imposed additional tariffs on Chinese goods. Tariffs. In his inaugural address, Trump said, "Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens." But this description of tariffs is false. Tariffs imposed by the U.S. government are paid by U.S. importers, not foreign countries. Inflation rates. Trump falsely claimed during his inaugural address that the U.S. experienced record inflation during the Biden administration. Trump could fairly say the U.S. inflation rate hit a 40-year high in June 2022 when it was 9.1%, but that was not close to the all-time record of 23.7% set in 1920, and the rate has since plummeted. The most recent available inflation rate at the time Trump spoke here was 2.9% in December. Trade with the European Union. In the Oval Office, Trump repeated his false claims that the European Union doesn't take farm products, cars, or almost anything from the U.S. While the EU certainly has some trade barriers that make it harder for U.S. companies to export products there, it's a massive exaggeration to categorically declare it doesn't accept almost anything. The U.S. exported more than $639 billion worth of goods and services to the EU in 2023. The U.S. government says the EU bought $12.3 billion worth of U.S. agricultural exports in the 2023 fiscal year, making it the fourth largest export market for U.S. agricultural and related products behind China, Mexico, and Canada. And while U.S. automakers have often struggled to succeed in Europe, according to a December 2023 report from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, the EU is the second largest market for U.S. vehicle exports, importing 271,476 U.S. vehicles in 2022, valued at nearly €9 billion. Some of these are vehicles made by European automakers at plants in the U.S. Immigration and the border prisons and mental institutions. Trump spoke in all three speeches of migrants having come from foreign prisons and mental institutions into the U.S. under President Joe Biden, a frequent refrain during his 2024 campaign. In the first speech, he said many Biden-era migrants have come from such facilities. In the second speech, he said, "We don't want the jails of every country in the world virtually being deposited into the United States." In the third, he said, "All over the world, they're emptying their prisons into our country. They're emptying their mental institutions into our country." All of this is uncorroborated. Trump and his presidential campaign have never corroborated the claim that many Biden-era migrants have come from prisons or mental institutions, though it's of course possible that some migrants spent time in such facilities. And Trump's campaign could not substantiate his stories about numerous foreign countries supposedly opening up such facilities to somehow bring the people in them into the U.S. The president has sometimes tried to support his narrative by asserting the global prison population is down, but that's incorrect. The recorded global prison population increased from October 2021 to April 2024, from about 10.77 million people to about 10.99 million people, according to the War.